Sarah Chun stood at the viewing window of the massive alien space station. She watched the swirling colors of the neutron star below. The sight still amazed her even after 3 months of living here. As Earth's chief ambassador to the Galactic Harmony Council, she had seen many wonders. But this place was special. The station was huge. It stretched for miles in every direction. 12 different alien species had built it together over thousands of years. Each section looked different. The Zephyrian areas glowed with soft blue light. The Vorthic sections were made of living crystal that sang quietly. The Kelari zone smelled of flowers that humans had never seen. Sarah walked through the main council chamber. Today was another meeting about trade agreements. Humans had been part of the council for 3 years now. They were still the newest members. The other species often reminded them of this fact. Ambassador Chun, called a voice behind her. She turned to see Kethmore, the Zephyrian representative. His energy form shimmered as he moved. "How are your people adapting to our ways?" Sarah smiled politely. "Very well, thank you. We appreciate everything the council has taught us." Kethmore's form brightened slightly. This was how Zephyrians showed amusement. "Your species learns quickly, though your methods are quite aggressive compared to ours." Sarah had heard this comment many times. The aliens seemed worried about human military thinking. They often spoke about peace and harmony. But Sarah noticed they all had powerful weapons on their ships. "We are a peaceful species," Sarah replied. "We only want to learn and grow with the council." "Of course," Kethmore said. His form flickered in a way that seemed doubtful. "Oh, your weapon designs show such interesting creativity. Kinetic projectiles moved by chemical explosions. How primitive." Sarah kept her smile. Inside, she felt annoyed. The aliens always acted like humans were children playing with toys. But she had seen human technology do things that surprised even council scientists. The council meeting began an hour later. Sarah took her seat in the junior member section. Only species that had been in the council for less than 50 years sat here. Humans were the only junior members right now. High Chancellor Vexthera called the meeting to order. The tall, mantis-like being spoke in the universal language that all council members used. "Today we discussed the mining rights in Sector 779. Sarah listened as the senior members talked. Humans had requested mining rights in that sector 6 months ago. Earth needed the rare metals found there to improve their spaceships. The council had been considering the request since then. "The humans show promise," said Vorthic, Representative Shard Mine Unity. The crystal being's voice echoed like wind through caves. "But they are young. Perhaps they need more guidance before taking on such responsibility." Other members nodded in agreement. Sarah wanted to speak up. She wanted to remind them that humans had helped solve 3 technical problems for the council in the past year. But junior members could only speak when asked direct questions. "We will delay this decision until next cycle," High Chancellor Vexthera decided. "The humans must prove they are ready for such trust." Sarah felt frustrated, but stayed quiet. After the meeting, she walked back to the human section of the station. Her assistant, James Park, was waiting for her. "How did it go?" James asked. "Same as always," Sarah replied. "They think we need more time to grow up." James frowned. "It's strange. They act like they're protecting us, but I keep hearing whispers in the corridors." Some of the maintenance staff seemed nervous around humans. Sarah had noticed this too. At first, she thought the aliens were just being careful around a new species. But lately, she had seen groups of senior council members meeting in private. When humans approached, they quickly changed the subject. "Have you decoded any more of those encrypted messages?" Sarah asked. James nodded grimly. "Some of it? They keep mentioning something called the cleansing protocol. I can't figure out what it means. The encryptions is too strong for our computers to break completely." Sarah felt a cold chill run down her spine. She had been ambassador for 3 years. In that time, humans had given the Council access to their science, their resources, and even their people. Thousands of human volunteers worked on Council ships and stations across the galaxy. "Keep working on it," she told James, "and start making copies of everything we've learned here. All the technical data, star charts, and ship designs. Send it all back to Earth on the next supply run." "Should I tell them it's urgent?" James asked. Sarah thought about the strange meetings, the dismissive comments, and the encrypted messages about cleansing protocols. She remembered how the other Council members always asked detailed questions about human weapons and defenses. "Yes," she said finally. "Mark it as highest priority. Tell them to share everything with military command immediately." That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the past 3 years. The Council had seemed so welcoming at first. They offered humanity knowledge, protection, and a place among the stars. But now Sarah wondered if they had other reasons for being friendly. She remembered the first day humans arrived at the station. High Chancellor Vexthera had made a speech about the importance of peace and cooperation. But Sarah had noticed how carefully the aliens studied every human reaction. They asked many questions about Earth's population, industrial capacity, and military strength. Sarah got up and looked out her window at the neutron star. Its deadly radiation would kill any unprotected human in seconds. But the aliens had built their station here on purpose. It was the perfect place to watch over the galaxy. From here, they could see everything that happened in hundreds of star systems. The next morning brought troubling news. A human colony ship had gone missing near the outer rim. Then another one stopped responding to messages. The Council claimed they were investigating. But Sarah noticed that Council ships had been in those areas recently. "We need to warn Earth," Sarah told James privately. "Something is very wrong here." James agreed. "I've been monitoring Council communications. There's a lot of activity in sectors where humans have settlements. Way more ships than needed for normal patrols." Sarah made her decision. "Send a message to Admiral Stone on the research vessel Endeavor. Tell him to stay outside the Sol system and keep his engines ready. Use the old Earth military codes." She didn't know what the Council was planning, but every instinct told her that humanity was in terrible danger. The 3 years of friendship had been a lie. Now the real truth was about to be revealed. Admiral Marcus Stone stood on the bridge of the research vessel Endeavor. The ship floated quietly in space, just outside the Sol system. He had received Ambassador Chun's coded message 3 days ago. Something about staying ready and keeping engines warm. Now he understood why. "Sir, massive energy readings coming from the inner system," reported Lieutenant Torres from her sensor station. "It looks like some kind of barrier is forming around the entire solar system." Stone moved to the main display screen. He watched as a shimmering field of energy surrounded the sun and all its planets. The barrier grew stronger by the minute. Soon it would be impossible to see through or pass through. "Try to contact Earth," Stone ordered. Torres worked at her controls for several minutes. Then she looked up with fear in her eyes. "Nothing, sir. All communications are being blocked. The barrier is stopping everything from getting in or out." Stone felt his blood turn cold. "What about our people in other systems? The colonies on Kepler 442b and New Geneva?" Another officer, Commander Walsh, checked his instruments. "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy discharges from both locations. The signatures match Council warship weapons." Stone didn't need to hear more. He understood what was happening. The Council had been planning this for a long time. 3 years of friendship and cooperation had been a lie. They had been studying humanity, learning about their weaknesses, and preparing for this moment. "Red alert," Stone announced. "All hands to battle stations. Send emergency signals to any human ships that might be out there." The crew moved quickly to their positions. The Endeavor wasn't built for war, but it had defensive weapons and strong shields. More importantly, it had something the Council didn't know about: experimental equipment that Earth's military had been secretly testing. Through the main viewer, Stone watched Council ships appear throughout human space. There were hundreds of them, massive dreadnoughts and fast attack cruisers. They moved with precision, hitting every human settlement at the same time. "Sir, incoming transmission," Torres announced. "It's from the Council station." "Put it on screen," Stone replied. High Chancellor Vexthera appeared on the display. The tall alien looked different now. Gone was the friendly expression that humans had grown used to. Instead, his eyes were cold and merciless. "Admiral Stone," Vexthera began, "by now you have seen what is happening to your species. This should not surprise you. Every intelligent race eventually reaches the same point. You become too dangerous to exist." Stone remained silent, letting the alien continue. "Your people have progressed too quickly," the Chancellor said. 3 years ago, you barely had space travel. Now you create weapons that concern us. Your artificial intelligence programs show creativity we have never seen. Your quantum research threatens the natural order. The transmission showed images of human colonies being destroyed. Bright flashes of energy turned cities into glass. Orbital stations exploded in silence. Thousands of human lives ended in seconds. "We have decided to implement the cleansing protocol," Vexthera continued. "This is not personal. Your species simply reached the threshold too quickly. We cannot allow you to develop further." Stone finally spoke. "You mean you are going to kill us all?" "Yes," the alien replied without emotion. "But we are merciful. Earth has 72 hours to surrender completely. If your leaders agree to peaceful extinction, we will make it quick and painless. If you resist, the suffering will last much longer." The transmission ended. Stone stood quietly for a moment, thinking about what he had heard. Then he turned to his crew. "Did everyone hear that?" he asked. The bridge crew nodded grimly. "Good," Stone said, "because now you know what we're really dealing with. These aliens aren't peacekeepers or friends. They're genocidal monsters who destroy anyone they consider a threat." Commander Walsh spoke up. "Sir, what are your orders?" Stone smiled grimly. "Signal Earth using the quantum burst transmitter. Tell them the Council has shown their true face. Tell them it's time to wake up the beast." Torres looked confused. "Sir, what beast?" Stone moved to the communications station himself. He entered a special code that only a few dozen people on Earth knew. When he finished, he turned back to his crew. "For the past 50 years, Earth's leaders have been preparing for this exact situation," he explained. "They called it Project Prometheus. Everyone assumed it was just military research. But it was much more than that. The Admiral activated a secure channel that he had never used before. Within minutes, responses came back from Earth, not from the government buildings or military bases that the Council had been watching. The signals came from deep underground, from beneath the oceans, and from inside mountains. You see, the Council made one big mistake," Stone continued. "They thought they knew everything about humanity. They watched our cities, monitored our communications, and counted our ships. But they only saw what we wanted them to see." On his private screen, Stone watched as Earth began to transform. Massive ice sheets in Antarctica started to crack and split open. Ocean floors shifted as hidden structures rose to the surface. Mountains opened like flowers, revealing vast chambers filled with ships. "The Council observed us for 3 years," Stone said. "During that time, they cataloged every human weapon, ship design, and military base they could find. They calculated our defensive capabilities down to the last missile. But they never realized that everything they saw was just for show." Commander Walsh stared at the readings coming from Earth. "Sir, how many ships are down there?" Stone checked his instruments. The numbers kept climbing as more hidden facilities revealed themselves. Current count shows over 50,000 vessels emerging from concealment. And those are just the ones we can detect from here. The crew stood in shocked silence. They had no idea that such a massive fleet existed. But how? Torres asked. How did they hide so many ships? Simple, Stone replied. We built them in places the Council never thought to look. Deep underwater factories that use the ocean floor as camouflage. Manufacturing centers inside hollow asteroids that look like natural space rocks. Shipyards carved into the cores of mountains and covered with fake cities on top. Stone activated another display showing the true scope of Project Prometheus. Mining operations had been secretly stripping asteroids for decades. Self-replicating factories had been building ships and weapons using materials the Council didn't know humans had access to. The best part, Stone added, is that we used Council technology to do it. Every friendly exchange, every scientific cooperation program, every cultural visit gave us access to their equipment. We've been reverse engineering their technology for 3 years. The Endeavor sensors detected massive energy buildups throughout the Sol system. The hidden human fleet was powering up weapons that shouldn't have existed. Gravitational disruptors, quantum torpedo launchers, and AI-controlled defense networks that made Council technology look primitive. Sir, Walsh said quietly, what are we going to do to them? Stone thought about the destroyed colonies, the murdered civilians, and the alien demand for humanity's peaceful extinction. He remembered Vexthera's cold voice explaining how humans were too dangerous to live. We're going to teach them what dangerous really means, Stone replied. Signal all ships. Prepare for quantum tunnel deployment. We're not going to wait for them to come to us. We're going to bring the fight directly to their home systems. Stone looked out at the barrier surrounding Earth. Soon, it wouldn't matter. Human ships were about to appear in places the Council thought were impossible to reach. The 3 years of deception were over. Now the aliens would face the true power of humanity. The countdown to humanity's revenge had begun. President Elena Vasquez stood in the hidden command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room buzzed with activity as military officers coordinated humanity's response to the Council's betrayal. Giant screens showed the status of Project Prometheus facilities around the world. Madam President, called General Harrison from his command station. All Prometheus sites are reporting ready status. The fleet is fully operational. Elena watched the displays with grim satisfaction. For over 60 years, this moment had been planned and prepared for. It started back in 2089 when a military computer simulation showed humanity's weakness against superior alien technology. That day, Earth's leaders made a secret decision that would change everything. Show me the current deployment, Elena ordered. The main screen changed to show a map of Earth. Red dots appeared all over the planet, marking the locations of hidden military facilities. There were hundreds of them. Some had been built under major cities. Others lay beneath the ocean floor or inside hollow mountains. Antarctica Base 7 is opening now, reported an officer. Estimated time to full deployment is 12 minutes. Elena turned to watch another screen showing the Antarctic ice sheet. Massive cracks appeared in the ice as something enormous pushed up from below. Steam rose from the cracks as heated air from the underground facility met the frozen surface. The ice began to split apart in perfectly straight lines. It became clear that the cracks followed a designed pattern. Someone had planned exactly how the ice would break when the time came. There she is, whispered General Harrison. A huge structure rose from beneath the ice. It looked like a metal city floating on the water where solid ice had been moments before. Ships began emerging from launch bays built into the structure's sides. Not just a few ships, but hundreds of them. How long has that facility been down there? Asked Elena's science advisor, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Construction began in 2156, Harrison replied. Right after we made first contact with the Council. We built it during the 3 years of friendship while their representatives were visiting Earth. Elena remembered those years well. She had been a junior senator then, but she was one of the few people who knew about Project Prometheus. Every public interaction with the Council had been carefully planned to hide humanity's true capabilities. Ocean Base Pacific 12 is surfacing, another officer announced. On the screen, Elena watched an impossible sight. The ocean floor itself seemed to be rising to the surface. Water poured off the sides of what looked like an artificial continent. As it rose higher, the structure revealed itself to be a massive shipyard. Ships of every size floated in construction bays that had been filled with water to hide them from orbital observation. Now the water drained away, and the ships powered up their engines for the first time in years. The Council satellites are detecting the energy signatures, reported the intelligence officer. They're transmitting urgent messages to their fleets. Elena smiled coldly. Too late for them now. How many ships do we have ready for deployment? General Harrison checked his displays. Current count is 47,612 vessels. That number is still climbing as more facilities come online. Dr. Mitchell stared at the numbers in shock. How did we build so many ships without anyone noticing? Simple, Elena replied. We didn't build them on Earth, at least not all of them. The president activated another display showing the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Dozens of rocks that had looked natural for decades suddenly opened up to reveal massive mining and construction operations. We've been secretly mining asteroids since 2145, Elena explained. Self-replicating construction robots stripped entire asteroids down to build materials. The Council sensors couldn't tell the difference between our mining ships and natural space rocks. The scope of the deception was incredible. Humanity had spent 3 years playing the role of eager junior partners while secretly building the largest military fleet in galactic history. Every friendly exchange with Council representatives had provided opportunities to study their technology and identify weaknesses. Madam President, called the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the Council station. Put it through, Elena ordered. High Chancellor Vexthera appeared on the main screen. The alien looked confused and angry. President Vasquez, what is the meaning of this military buildup? Our sensors detect massive energy signatures throughout your system. You have 72 hours to surrender peacefully. Elena stepped forward so the alien could see her clearly. Chancellor, I think you misunderstand the situation. You're not the ones giving ultimatums anymore. Vexthera's expression hardened. Your species has perhaps 300 primitive warships. Our fleet number's in the thousands. This resistance is pointless. 300 ships? Elena laughed. Is that what your intelligence reports told you? Let me show you what we really have. She gestured to General Harrison, who activated a system-wide sensor sweep. The display filled with dots representing human ships. There were so many that they looked like clouds of stars. Each dot represents one of our warships, Elena said calmly. Current count is over 50,000 vessels. And they're not primitive. We've been reverse engineering your technology for 3 years. In fact, our ships are now more advanced than yours. The alien's face showed the first sign of fear Elena had ever seen from the Council. Impossible. Our observers monitored your industrial capacity. You cannot build such numbers. Your observers saw exactly what we wanted them to see, Elena replied. Did you really think a species that developed space travel in less than a century would show you all our secrets? On the screen behind Elena, massive ships continued to emerge from hiding places around the solar system. Some were larger than anything the Council had ever built. Others were smaller, but moved with impossible speed and agility. The Council made a critical error, Elena continued. You assumed humans think like your species. You expected us to build ships the same way you do. But humans adapt. We innovate. We find solutions you never considered. Dr. Mitchell stepped forward, to add her expertise. Our AI systems learn by watching your ships for 3 years. They design new weapons specifically to counter your defenses. Every Council vessel type has been analyzed and targeted. Vexthera's image flickered as the alien transmitted urgent orders to Council fleets. You cannot hope to defeat 12 civilizations that have ruled the galaxy for millennia. Watch us, Elena said simply. She turned to General Harrison. Give the order. Begin Operation Prometheus Rising. Yes, Madam President, Harrison replied. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. All vessels, this is command. Execute Prometheus Rising. Repeat. Execute Prometheus Rising. Throughout the solar system, human ships began powering up weapon systems that defied known physics. Quantum tunnel drives activated, preparing to transport the fleet instantly across interstellar space. The Council's quarantine barrier meant nothing to technology that could bypass normal space-time entirely. How are we doing this? Dr. Mitchell asked quietly. Quantum tunneling on this scale should be impossible. Elena smiled grimly. We had the best motivation possible. The survival of our species. When humans face extinction, we become very creative. On the main screen, the first wave of human ships began to disappear. They weren't moving through space in any conventional way. Instead, they were stepping outside normal reality and emerging somewhere else entirely. First wave has reached Council space, reported the tactical officer. They're appearing directly inside the enemy's defensive perimeter. Elena watched as her species prepared to answer the Council's betrayal. For 3 years, humanity had played the role of grateful students learning from wise teachers. Now the Council would discover what humans were truly capable of when pushed to the edge of extinction. Chancellor, Elena said to the alien still visible on the screen, you said our species reached the threshold too quickly. You were right. We did develop faster than you expected. But you made one mistake. What mistake? Vexthera asked. Elena's eyes turned as cold as space itself. You gave us 3 years to study you before you tried to kill us. That was 3 years too long. The alien transmission cut off as human ships began their assault on Council positions throughout the galaxy. Project Prometheus was no longer a secret. The beast was fully awake, and it was very, very hungry. Admiral Marcus Stone watched his tactical display as human ships materialized throughout Council space. The quantum tunnel drives worked perfectly, bypassing the aliens' defensive networks and appearing directly inside their most secure systems. First contact with enemy. Forces in the Zephyrian home system, reported. Commander Walsh. Human. Ships are engaging now. Stone activated. The main viewer to watch the battle. The Zephyrian fleet consisted of energy-based vessels that could phase in and out of normal space. For centuries, this had made them nearly impossible to fight. But humans had spent 3 years studying their weaknesses. Deploy quantum cage warheads, Stone ordered. Human ships fired weapons that looked like simple missiles. But when they reached the Zephyrian vessels, something incredible happened. The missiles exploded into clouds of quantum particles that trapped the energy beings in fixed dimensional space. The Zephyrians tried to phase away from the attacks, but the quantum cages held them in place. Their ships, which normally moved like living light, became solid and vulnerable. Direct hit, reported the weapons officer. Zephyrian flagship is contained and taking heavy damage. Stone nodded with satisfaction. The quantum cage technology had been developed specifically to counter energy-based life forms. Human scientists had theorized that if they could force the Zephyrians into a single-dimensional phase, their advantages would disappear. Status on the Vorthic engagement? Stone asked. Harmonic resonance weapons are proving very effective, sir, Walsh replied. Their crystal ships are shattering at the molecular level. The display showed human ships firing what looked like sound waves at the crystalline Vorthic vessels. The aliens had built their ships from living crystal that could repair itself and adapt to most weapon types. But the human harmonic weapons found the exact frequency that caused the crystal structure to collapse. Entire Vorthok dreadnoughts broke apart like glass hitting concrete. The aliens inside died instantly as their crystal-based life support systems failed. In minutes, a fleet that had dominated space for thousands of years was reduced to glittering debris. "Incoming transmission from Sector 7, announced the communications officer. "It's Captain Rodriguez on the Prometheus." The image of Captain Maria Rodriguez appeared on screen. Behind her, Stone could see the bridge of one of humanity's new stealth cruisers. "Admiral, we've reached the Kalari homeworld," she reported. "Their bioships are trying to adapt to our weapons, but the nanoplague warheads are working as designed." Stone smiled grimly. The Kalari grew their ships instead of building them. The vessels were actually living creatures bred for war over millions of years. They could heal damage, evolve new defenses, and even reproduce during battle. But human nanoplague weapons were designed to corrupt biological systems at the genetic level. The microscopic machines invaded Kalari ships and rewrote their DNA, turning the aliens' greatest strength against them. "Their ships are converting our weapons into raw materials," Rodriguez continued. "The nanobots are literally eating the enemy fleet from the inside out." Stone watched the tactical display as green dots representing Kalari bioships began disappearing one by one. Each vessel that fell became resources for the nanoplague to spread further. "Excellent work, Captain," Stone replied. "Continue your advance and secure the system." The Admiral turned his attention to reports coming in from across the galaxy. Human task forces were engaging all 12 Council species simultaneously. Each attack used weapons specifically designed to exploit that species' particular weaknesses. The Thrakari, who relied on powerful energy shields, found their defenses useless against human phase-shifting projectiles that materialized inside their ships. The insectoid hive minds discovered that human AI viruses could corrupt their collective consciousness, turning their greatest advantage into chaos and confusion. "Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission," announced Lieutenant Torres. "It's from the Council's primary command station." "Put it through." Stone ordered. High Chancellor Vexthera appeared on screen, but he looked very different from before. His confident arrogance was gone, replaced by fear and desperation. "Admiral Stone, this slaughter must stop," the alien pleaded. "We can negotiate a settlement. The Council is willing to discuss terms." Stone stared at the alien without emotion. "Terms? Like the terms you offered humanity? Peaceful extinction or prolonged suffering?" "You don't understand," Vexthera continued. "If you destroy the Council, the galaxy will fall into chaos. We maintain order across thousands of star systems. You maintain control through fear and genocide," Stone replied. "That's not order. That's tyranny." The alien's image flickered as explosions rocked his station. Human ships had reached the Council's primary base and were systematically destroying its defenses. "Please," Vexthera begged. "Show mercy." Not all of us agreed with the cleansing protocol. Stone thought about the human colonies that had been destroyed without warning. He remembered the families who died when the Council ships attacked civilian settlements. He thought about Earth's children who would have been murdered if the Council's plan had succeeded. "Where was your mercy when you planned to exterminate my species?" Stone asked. "Where was your compassion when you destroyed our colonies?" The alien had no answer. Stone continued speaking, his voice cold and final. "You call us primitive because we use kinetic weapons. You thought our technology was simple and crude. But you never understood the most important thing about humans." "What?" Vexthera whispered. "We don't just fight to win," Stone replied. "We fight to make sure our enemies can never threaten us again." Stone gave a hand signal to cut the transmission. Then he opened a channel to all human forces throughout the galaxy. "All ships, this is Admiral Stone. You have new orders directly from Earth Command. No prisoners. No mercy. No survivors who might rebuild or seek revenge. End this threat permanently. Across the galaxy, human commanders acknowledged the order. The attacks intensified as humanity's true nature revealed itself. They weren't just fighting a war. They were eliminating a threat to their species' survival. The Manthari, who had perfected psychic warfare, found their mental attacks useless against human soldiers equipped with neural dampening implants. The machine race, called the Collective, discovered that human computer viruses could rewrite their core programming, turning their own bodies against them. Admiral, Walsh reported quietly, "We're detecting massive civilian casualties on Council worlds." Stone nodded grimly. The Council made this choice when they decided to commit genocide. They wanted to teach the galaxy that threatening them had consequences. Now they're learning the same lesson. The tactical display showed the systematic destruction of Council infrastructure throughout their territory. Human ships weren't just attacking military targets. They were destroying factories, research stations, communication networks, and anything else that might allow the alien civilizations to recover. "Status report," Stone ordered. 11 of the 12 Council species have been effectively eliminated, Walsh replied. "The Nexari are offering unconditional surrender, but per your orders, we're not accepting it." Stone watched as the last Council strongholds fell to human assault. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for millennia burned in the vacuum of space. Worlds that had been centers of galactic civilization went dark as their populations were systematically eliminated. "Time to target the Council station?" Stone asked. 17 minutes until our forces reach optimal attack position, Torres replied. Stone activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, prepare for final assault on the Council's primary station. This is where their leaders planned humanity's extinction. This is where we end their threat forever." The Endeavor and the human fleet moved toward their final target. Behind them, the wreckage of 12 ancient civilizations floated in space. The galaxy's old order was ending, and a new one was about to begin. 18 hours after the human fleet began their assault, Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship as it approached the Council's primary station. Around the massive structure floated the wreckage of the Council's most powerful warships. The battle was over. The slaughter was complete. "Final damage assessment," Stone ordered. Commander Walsh checked his instruments carefully before responding. "All 12 Council species have been eliminated, sir. Military forces destroyed. Industrial capacity eliminated. Population centers gone." Stone nodded grimly. The numbers were staggering. Trillions of beings had died in less than a day. Civilizations that had existed for millions of years had been wiped out completely. The galaxy would never be the same. "Any surviving ships attempting to flee?" Stone asked. "Negative, sir," reported Lieutenant Torres. "Our hunter-killer squadrons eliminated the last refugee ships 20 minutes ago. No Council vessel escaped." The Admiral walked to the main viewing window. The Council station hung before them like a broken monument to alien arrogance. Sections of it were still burning from human attacks. Bodies floated in the vacuum where emergency airlocks had failed. "Sir, we're receiving scattered surrender signals from non-Council species," Walsh reported. "The Altarians, the Centauri Federation, and about 40 other civilizations are broadcasting total submission." Stone considered this news. These were species that had traded with the Council or provided them with resources. They hadn't directly participated in the planned genocide of humanity, but they had enabled it through their cooperation. "What are your orders?" Walsh asked. Stone thought about President Vasquez's final instructions before the fleet departed. "Show no mercy to enemies. Make examples of those who supported them. Ensure that no species would ever again consider threatening humanity. Continue the advance," Stone ordered. "Any civilization that supported the Council in any way shares their fate." Humanity will not tolerate potential future threats. The human fleet spread throughout Council space like a plague of death. Ships appeared in systems that had thought themselves safe. Worlds that had never seen war suddenly found themselves under attack by weapons beyond their comprehension. The Altarian Trade Confederation tried to surrender by broadcasting their complete submission on all frequencies. Human ships responded by systematically destroying every Altarian vessel and station in space. The message was clear. Cooperation with humanity's enemies would result in extinction. Admiral, Torres called out. Incoming priority transmission from Earth. It's President Vasquez. Stone returned to his command chair. Put her through. President Vasquez appeared on the main screen. Behind her, Stone could see the hidden command center where humanity had planned this moment for decades. Admiral, excellent work, the president said. The galaxy is watching our actions very carefully. Are you ready for the final phase? Yes, Madam President, Stone replied. The Council station is defenseless. We can begin orbital bombardment whenever you give the order. Negative, Vasquez said firmly. I want you to take the station intact. There's something I need to do personally. Stone was surprised but didn't question the order. Understood. We'll board the station and secure it within the hour. Good. I'm departing Earth immediately aboard the presidential cruiser. I should arrive at your position in 6 hours. I should arrive at your position in 6 hours. The transmission ended, leaving Stone curious about the president's intentions. But orders were orders. He turned to his crew. Prepare boarding parties, Stone announced. Full combat gear. Take the station alive. 2 hours later, human Marines had secured every section of the massive Council station. The few surviving aliens were held in the main assembly chamber where they had planned humanity's extinction just days before. Stone walked through the corridors where Ambassador Chun had once tried to build peaceful relations. Now the walls were scorched from weapons fire, and alien bodies lay where they had fallen defending their masters. All sections secure, reported Marine Colonel Harris over the comm system. We've got about 200 aliens still alive. Mostly administrative staff and some council members who were hiding in the lower levels. Stone made his way to the main assembly chamber. He wanted to see the place where the decision to murder his species had been made. The vast room was designed to hold thousands of delegates from across the galaxy. Now it served as a prison for the last few members of the once mighty Council. High Chancellor Vex Thera sat in the center of the group of survivors. The alien who had once spoken with such arrogance about humanity's extinction now trembled with fear. Admiral Stone, Vex Thera said as the human officer approached. Thank you for sparing our lives. Perhaps we can still find a way to coexist peacefully. Stone stared at the alien without emotion. The president is coming to speak with you personally. I suggest you think carefully about what you want to say. 6 hours later, President Vasquez arrived at the station aboard her heavily armed cruiser. Stone met her at the docking bay with a full honor guard. The president looked tired but determined. Show me to the assembly chamber, she ordered. Stone led her through the station's corridors. Along the way, Vasquez stopped to examine Council technology and alien art. She seemed to be memorizing every detail. Madam President, Stone asked quietly, what exactly are you planning? Vasquez smiled coldly. I'm going to send a message that the entire galaxy will remember for the next 1,000 years. They reached the assembly chamber where the surviving council members waited. President Vasquez walked to the center of the room and activated the chamber's galactic broadcast system. Her words would be transmitted to every inhabited world in the galaxy. People of the galaxy, she began. I am Elena Vasquez, President of Earth and leader of the human species. 3 days ago, the Galactic Harmony Council attempted to exterminate my people. They failed. The camera focused on Vasquez as she stood surrounded by the wreckage of alien power. The council believed humans were a young species that could be easily eliminated, she continued. They were wrong. We are not young. We are patient. We are not easily eliminated. We are inevitable. She gestured to the cowering aliens behind her. These creatures spent 3 years studying humanity while planning our murder. They thought they understood us. They cataloged our weapons, counted our ships, and measured our industrial capacity. But they never understood what makes humans truly dangerous. Vasquez walked closer to the camera. When we are threatened with extinction, we do not simply fight back. We ensure that the threat can never exist again. The Council and their supporters have learned this lesson. 12 ancient civilizations that ruled the galaxy for millennia no longer exist. 47 species that aided them have been eliminated. Thousands of worlds that supported their regime are now silent. The president paused to let her words sink in across the galaxy. Some of you watching this broadcast may think humanity has become the very monster we fought against. You may believe we are no better than the council we destroyed, but you would be wrong. The council eliminated species for becoming too advanced. Humans will eliminate species only if they threaten us. Vasquez turned to face the surviving council members. The choice is simple. Accept humanity as the dominant species in this galaxy, or share the fate of those who came before you. We do not seek to rule over peaceful civilizations. We seek only to ensure that no one ever again attempts to commit genocide against the human race. She moved to stand directly in front of Vexthera. This station will remain here as a monument to what happens when someone threatens humanity's survival. These ruins will serve as a reminder that we do not forgive. We do not forget. And we never show mercy to those who would see us extinct. The president drew sidearm and pointed it at the alien who had ordered her species destruction. The age of the council is over, she said calmly. The age of humanity has begun. Vexthera opened his mouth to speak, but President Vasquez pulled the trigger. The alien who had planned to exterminate humanity died instantly. She turned back to the camera for her final words. Let this serve as a lesson to every species in the galaxy. Humanity is not just another civilization to be measured and cataloged. We are not a problem to be solved or a threat to be eliminated. We are the solution to the problem of those who would threaten innocent life. The broadcast ended. President Vasquez looked around the chamber at the remaining aliens, who stared at her in absolute terror. You have 1 hour to send word to every surviving species, she told them. Tell them that humanity is watching. Tell them that we remember everything. And tell them that peaceful coexistence is their only path to survival. Admiral Stone watched as the few remaining council members fled to spread humanity's message throughout the galaxy. In a single day, his species had gone from facing extinction to becoming the most feared civilization in galactic history. The quarantine barrier around Earth dissolved as human ships spread outward to claim their new territory. The galaxy now belonged to humanity, and everyone in it would learn to live by human rules. The age of the council was over. The age of humanity had truly begun.